Chapter 3. Meanwhile, back at the grove. Susu watched in disbelief as Jed was snatched up by the hawk. Through a thin thicket of raspberry canes, she saw the blur of brown and white feathers, the all too clear scaly bands of the powerful yellow talons as they curled around Jed's middle. She saw the surprise in her friend's eyes as his paws were lifted from the earth. She stared at the empty space where Jed had been, and for a moment, Susu was frozen. No, she thought. No, not Jed. She shook her head slightly. She shook it again, and this time the movement freed her. She shot out of the thicket. She raced to the top of the nearest tree, out to the precarious tip of a limb that had lost its leaves. From there, she could see her dear friend being carried swiftly, so swiftly away. His form was a silhouette, a small shape with a long tail, suspended below the larger hawk shape. Her heart began to fill with sorrow. Tears pooled in her eyes. But wait, what now? Were tears blurring her vision, or was the small form separating from the hawk shape? It was! It was falling like a drop of water from the tip of a leaf, like a nut from a tree, like a squirrel. And if her eyes were not fooling her, the form did not fall like a limp, lifeless squirrel. It seemed to stretch out and then curl up tight. The curled up squirrel shape fell into some trees where she could no longer see it, but hope pushed its way into her heart. Stubbornly, it took its place beside the sorrow. Now Chai joined her in the treetop. The slim limb dipped lower with his weight. He, too, had seen the capture of Jed. Following Susu's gaze, he watched the tiny silhouette of the hawk swoop and soar. He furled his tail over her shoulder in sympathy. "Let us go eat a nut," he said, "and remember our friend." "I think he escaped," she said. Chai pushed back his cap and peered quizzically at her. "Susu," he said gently, "no one escapes from the talons of a hawk." "I saw him fall, Chai," she said. "The hawk dropped him just past the unnatural shape." "Which unnatural shape?" asked Chai. He could see 3 of them without even twitching his head. The huge silvery egg, the tall frozen spiderweb, and the great beak that sometimes sings but never opens. "The spiderweb," said Susu, "but not the closest one, the one after that." Chai looked toward the point she was describing. It was a long way, a very long way away. Out of their realm, 3, maybe 4 realms away. And from a flying hawk in the air down to the earth was a very long way to fall. "If Jed escaped," he said to Susu, "no one is happier than I am. But we will never see him again." "He won't know where he is," said Susu. "He probably had his eyes shut the whole time. We need to go find him and bring him home." "Are you nuts?" asked Chai. To squirrels, "Are you nuts?" is a combination of "Have you lost your mind?" and "You remind me of the most wonderful thing I can think of." Nuts by itself can actually mean many things, like hello, goodbye, or wow. Kind of like shalom, or aloha, or cheers. In this case, "Are you nuts?" also meant, "My friend, what you want to do is not even possible." From far below, they heard Jip cry, "Hawk!" They looked at each other and rolled their eyes. Then they looked all around and also straight up, just to be sure. "How would we even begin to find him?" asked Chai. "We can go on the buzz paths," said Susu. "They connect the frozen spiderwebs. Hold them together or something." "They do?" asked Chai. "How do you know?" "I went to the first one once, kind of by accident," said Susu. "They're attached, the buzz paths and the spiderwebs." "I'll be," said Chai. "I didn't know that." Probably you have already guessed that buzz paths are utility wires and frozen spiderwebs are towers that hold them in the air. In this part of the forest, the trees had to grow up around the buzz paths in a friendly, welcoming way. But their grove, or neighborhood, was midway between spiderwebs, and Chai had never set foot on one. "So the buzz paths should take us right to him," said Susu. "We just have to count to the third spiderweb." Chai studied his friend's face. He could see that she meant to go. He immediately felt he should go with her. Jed was his best friend, too. Also, 2 heads are better than 1, the buddy system and all. But he had never done anything like it. He had never traveled so far from the grove. Plus, it seemed to Chai that even if Jed had survived the fall, he would not have stayed put. He would have gone looking for food, shelter, and whatnot. Scattered. "He's not just going to sit there and wait for us," he said. "That's why we have to go right away," said Susu. "Now, are you coming?" I'm coming," said Chai, but he said it to thin air. Susu was already on her way, dropping from branch to branch. "I'm coming," he yelled down after her. "Wait!" "Come on then," she called back over her shoulder, her voice already dimming with distance, muffled by the laced fingers of the trees. Chai glanced down into the grove. Everyone was running around, back to normal. Chai loved everyone running around. He loved normal. "Bye all," he said fondly, though no one could hear him. There was no time for real goodbyes. "We'll be back," he said. "I hope." He found a drop of sap and dabbed it under his acorn beret to keep it in place. He checked to see that the sprig of goldenrod was still affixed to the hat at a jaunty angle. Then he stepped off the branch, looking to the spot where he would land. Step and land, that's all travel was. Throw in some running and a change of scenery. No big deal, right? And so off he went. Off they went together.